The arrival of the Airbus A350 into the Qatar Airways fleet is quite simply a design of a decade. I say this because it is forecasted that there will be not a brand new aircraft type developed for another 10 years.
Would you like that to be your introduction?
No.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Dots, Lines, and Destinations podcast. We're recording in Doha, Qatar, this week, and just spent a bit of time in the A350 XWB, the brand new aircraft that they took delivery of at the end of last year and are looking to fly. It sounds like now next month, not this month, but we'll see how that actually plays out. And we have a special guest on the show today. Oh, by the way, this is Seth, for those of you who don't know my terrible voice and haven't heard me ramble for some. David. I've just blanked on your last name. I apologize.
David Flynn from Australian Business Travel. Hello, or if you want me to put on the Aussie, g'day.
Hey, look at that. Yeah, worldwide episode.
A350 WXB, mate.
You know, the WXWB has a nice little accent on the letters, too. I like that.
Exactly. But, did you think it really was extra wide body on the inside?
Yes, but it is wider than some planes. It is narrower than others. The one thing I do notice on it is the walls are more vertical. It feels it's not a cylinder. It's sort of oblong. So in the window seats especially, you get a little bit more vertical space. Yeah. And so it feels like a wall as opposed to a curved wall. I'm making hand gestures here for those of you listening at home who will now just not see any of it.
It's very Minority Report taken from me, this stuff moving. But it's true, you've got these vertical walls, and then you've got that high ceiling in business class. They don't have that.
They skip the middle bins.
And so it does make it look a little bit less like a big long tube and a bit more like a big room. And I think that's something more people can relate to from that living environment sense.
Yeah, and I went into this thinking, okay, I've been on the plane once before. I actually was on it in Toulouse back last April before it was flying, or test flights, but whatever. They weren't flying people around on it, really.
Yeah, we did the walkthrough in Hamburg that time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, in Hamburg. Yeah, you were there for me. Yeah, you were there. That, shit.
So you just remember people. Girls, watch out.
I hope my wife isn't listening. She won't be. But, so when we did the walkthrough then, you sort of got some of that feel for it. But coming into this, I was like, what's going to be the big deal? Am I really going to notice anything different about it? And even still, actually now seeing it fitted out for an airline, there are a lot of little things that they've done, that Qatar Airways has done, that actually sort of make it look like a nice operation. There's a few little things that are going to be part of it that also make it may not want to get on board necessarily, or no better or worse than anything else. Yeah. But,
economy should be a bit better. I mean, they are the famed 18-inch wide seats that Airbus has been banging the gong about for so long. It says at 333?
333.
18 inches wide. I've got to say, I'm about average side. I'm not quite sort of an extra wide body myself, but the 18-inch economy, you can feel the difference. A bit more room. Leg room's about the same as any other.
Yeah, leg room's still shit. It's economy class up to 32 inches is how they're advertising it, which is to say not a lot, but...
Yeah. Yeah. But it's okay. I mean, the thing is, too, the numbers for legroom, well, you've got a trend towards seats that are a little bit thinner. If you then move the magazine rack up, you do a few things like that. You might have the same pitch, but you can recover a little bit of knee room, which is really where it counts.
And I sat down today when we were on board, reclined my seat, and had them...
Was that in economy or business?
In economy.
Yeah.
I sat in a business seat just to get the picture, but I didn't actually really explore or play with it too much. Yeah. But I sat in an aisle seat in economy, reclined myself, and had someone recline the seat in front of me.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what the experience is going to be.
That's right, yeah.
And, the best I can offer up is, it wasn't horrible, obviously, but it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's an articulating seat, so the bottom seat pan slides forward when you recline it, which some people love them, some people hate them. In this case, I actually think it works pretty well. It actually tilts up a little bit as you slide forward, so it creates this sort of cradle experience.
More hand gestures happening here, guys.
Yeah. It creates sort of a cradle experience that your whole body gets sort of lifted up and tilted back.
Yep.
Not just leaning your head back a little bit and your shoulders back. Yeah. So between that and it's reasonably well padded. It's actually a little too firm padding right now. I think that'll break in as, more fat asses take to the skies.
Now, you've got fairly broad shoulders. How did you find it sort of sitting up around that upper part of your back, the shoulders? Did you feel you would have been encroaching on the seat neighbour space?
I don't think so, again, because the 18 inches really helps. I did have to move the sort of fixed headrest-ish thing. It adjusts up and down, but not, the wings are sort of fixed position. Yeah. I had to adjust that up to get out of the way. But, I did feel that it was okay with my shoulders sort of in there.
Yeah. So what if you're sitting there doing a bit of work, you've got your little Surface laptop here. You're doing a bit of work in the Surface. Person in front of you pushes their seat back. Any feeling on how that would impact upon your ability to work or watch videos?
Videos, I'd probably be okay. Working, I'm concerned about my elbows. I'm pretty good now about digging them into my own rib cage and typing in that sort of convoluted,
that sort of battery end position.
I have too many years of practice, and the keyboard on this is pretty small. But this is an 11 or 12-inch screen, maybe. I mean, if you get up to the bigger size, full-size laptops, don't.
Now, is there AC and USB power in each economy
There's
seat?
definitely AC power. I saw the green light glowing.
Yeah. Is that shared or per seat?
It's shared.
Probably shared.
It's 2 for 3.
Yeah.
I did not see USB, but I didn't really look.
You'd have to think that if they've got ASB, if they've got AC there to have.
I would like to think so. It's also the IFE system, the Thales Avant system. It's it's a new nice one. Very similar to the American 77W. It's what a lot of the vendors are rolling out, or airlines are rolling out new these days.
With a decent sized screen, and then underneath that in economy, there's a small touchscreen handset.
So that's one of the interesting things is the handset is the second screen in economy even, which is, this is the first time I've seen that.
Yeah.
Maybe American did that, I don't know.
So you could, for example, you've got a movie you're watching on the main screen, you could have the moving map on the handset.
Which is, to me,
that's really
basically
cool.
a bit of heaven.
Yeah. Heaven for you would be the moving map on the big one.
But
or the camera.
But they don't have the TV. They won't let you show the movies on the hand screen. So I was going to say that heaven actually would be the seat next to me empty with the moving map on that, on the big screen, and then me watching my movie and having both available. Yeah. But also the extra room for not having.
What do you reckon about those cameras they've got in some of the aircraft where you can actually see the view? You do that a lot?
I love it. We live in the States, or I live in the States, where there's a bit more litigious issues about that.
Really?
There was apparently a crash some years ago where the camera that had cameras on it, like 70s or early 80s, and it was like a takeoff video, and as part of the lawsuit after the fact, the fan cited the camera and claimed that people would have seen themselves crashing and dying, and that the trauma was greater because of it, and that it demanded additional compensation.
Oh, get off.
That's my understanding.
What is it with you Yanks and litigation?
Man. Ask the guys at Skip Lagged. What do I know?
Jeez. So let's talk about the pointy end of the A350.
Where we want to be, though.
You'll walk up a fair bit, and then you've got the business class cabin, which is split into 2 zones. And in the middle, you've got that lovely entryway with little mini bar areas either side.
It's a huge open space. And I sort of like, you mentioned earlier, it feels like you're in a room. I mean, bigger than this hotel room that we're sitting in right now. Might not be, actually, I think it actually is bigger than the room. Yeah. Both in all dimensions.
It's a good size. And I remember, when Boeing was doing the 787, they kept going on about how with most aircraft, you walk in, what should be a welcoming experience, you feel like you're walking into someone's kitchen.
Or closet.
So they put a lot of effort into this archway and the LED lighting and all of this. And unfortunately, some airlines, especially the low-cost carriers, they ignore that. It still feels like you walk in a kitchen. But some airlines, Etihad's a good example, they dress that entry area up quite nicely. Now, the A350's entry, it's got this big illuminated dome set into the roof. It's really quite open. So it actually looks very spacious and very inviting.
Yeah. It's lovely, and as an economy class passenger, it's going to be one of the more depressing things to have to deal with. Walk in and see this huge open area, and like, oh.
Exactly.
Thank goodness there's only 3 rows of business that you still have to walk back through to get to the back. But it's just interesting because there's no vertical divider, unlike almost every other business class cabin where you walk in, come in through the second door. Normally you would just see like a couple business class seats and then it goes into premium economy or economy and you're down the back.
Yeah. But what do you reckon about that? Because I know sometimes it's nice. BA talked about on the A380s, economy.
Separate sections.
They wanted to create lots of separate sections so you don't feel like you're just one of, 100 sardines. But you get some of the other airlines and they've just got a huge row upon row. But the A350, because it's so large, I didn't get the feeling that it was a tunnel vision of business travellers.
I didn't get the tunnel vision in effect. My concern is going to be noise and comfort. I was talking with someone else at lunch about this, and we were sort of trying to say, what would be your favorite seat in business class? And she was talking about she likes the mini cabin, which I actually usually do because it's a little quieter and a little smaller. But it's only 3 rows. The first row is right in the lounge, and the third row is right against the rear wall for the bulkhead that has bassinets against
economy.
It has the economy bassinets, which you don't really usually want to be up against.
Exactly.
So, there was 1 row in between, which is okay, and it's the 1, 2, 1.
Cabin that tiny, the noise from the bar area in the front, the baby noise and the economy noise in the back doesn't stop at that row. So that really rules out that whole mini cabin. So
to me, it does.
Probably for you is closer up the front.
Yeah, and so I think we eventually decided, 1A has never been a bad seat. Is sort of where we ended up. But, in that case, though, you're up near the front galley and whatnot. You may want to come back a row or two. But without the dividing wall in between the two section, it really, because it's so open like that, I do have some concerns about what the noise experience is going to be. The other interesting thing about noise is this is one of the quietest planes flying. From an engine noise and sort of passenger comfort experience. And some of the guys that went on the delivery flight tour bit in Toulouse a couple weeks ago, or Hamburg, whichever one that was, we're talking about how now you need earplugs so you don't hear your neighbors' conversations, not because you want to drown out the engine noise. And to combine that with now this open space that's got, 9 row, 40-ish people. I'd like to think that, they're all business class passengers and they'll be polite and quiet, but I've flown
not
with too
when
many
there's a
business
bar nearby.
And I've flown with too many business class passengers.
Exactly. I was on the first A380 passenger carrying flight, which was the one that they ran at Airbus in the media days, middle of last year. The second day we went up on the A350 as a bit of a surprise. And that was great. That was, very, very quiet, had that same sort of almost, metallic-y technical engine whir that 787 has, but very, very quiet aircraft. But you're right, in a very open business class cabin like that, you've got to wonder what the noise is going to be like. Now, this bar area we're talking about, it's not a stand-up bar like on the A380s, for example, but there are these two areas which is where they'll have drinks, they'll have snacks, and it will be interesting to see whether people gravitate up to those. Now, if you were wanting to chat with a seatmate, obviously because in business class it's a 1-to-1 configuration, the middle two seats, how neighbour chat friendly are they?
I think just like everybody else that has that sort of same reverse herringbone layout, not. It's a tough one for me. I love the idea of the 1-to-1. It's a nice wide, especially on this plane because it's a wider fuselage. It's a super wide seat. And we were talking about this before we started recording. It's like 1.5 or 2 inches wider.
Name drop. Chatting with His Excellency over lunch, and he says about 1.5 extra inches per seat. And that's possible because it's this extra wide fuselage.
And then I sat down in it and took the selfie and whatever, and it was definitely a comfortable, spacious area. And it's great for your one-off business travel or whatnot, but if I'm traveling with my wife, if I'm traveling with a friend, anything like that, they're not seats where I feel comfortable having a conversation with someone. Like, in the middle pair, you sort of have to lean forward and look around the split. And it's actually a relatively high center wall on these. Tons of storage space because it's like a nice high center wall and all these things.
Wonderful.
But it's like, it's challenging to me for that to be traveling with someone. And I guess the reality is for the business, most of these are sole passengers. So that's what they are.
But of course too, business is sold often to leisure travelers. I was on Qatar business class on the 777 from Melbourne up to Doha, and a lot of leisure travelers on that. And leisure travellers are couples, families, they tend to want to be together. Business travellers more solo here.
And so you can't mix and match, unfortunately, but
no, you can't. So this is the first of the A350s that Qatar has got, the 900.
Right.
Airbus also confirming today that Qatar would be the launch customer for the 1000 sometime the second half of 17. We haven't, to my knowledge, heard them nail a airline's name to the 1000 at this point. So that was interesting. So they've got two bragging points there. And they're talking about increasing the production rate of the A3s as well, ramping up, because they say they've got about 777 more orders to fill right now.
And that'll be, it's interesting that may come at, will that come at the expense of the A380 line? Or to the expense of the A380 line or not? I know there's now saying they backed off on the, we're going to have to slow down because no one's buying it. No, we're going to retool it, re-engine it. But I'm not entirely sure I believe that yet.
So the first A350, according to the press release today, inaugural is January 15. It's next week from Doha to Frankfurt.
See, and then His Excellency said something about next month. I don't know if he was just...
I think he's in last year. He's still in last year. Exactly. No, I know a few people asked me about that, but press release very clearly said Jan 15. We've been working to that assumption all along. So there's that. Now he talked about the next routes. He didn't name the next route, saying after Frankfurt we'll be doing this, but he said this aircraft will be taking over from, the A340s?
Some A340s. He mentioned a couple of routes he thought this would take over from 787s, seemed to me.
Did he name check any cities? I know he talked about regions. He talked about North America, Europe, Asia.
He name dropped New York in there just because, but no time frame for that.
Exactly.
He had plenty of words for Monsieur Didier about getting those aircraft delivered more quickly. But they're going to have 7 or 8 more this year. So, 8 aircraft by the end of the year, and a lot of, Frankfurt you can do with a single airplane, but New York you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other surprise was, and we were talking with His Excellency about the next generation business class, which we at Australian Business Traveller have been tracking quite a bit.
Sure.
He told us at the Arabian Travel Market last year about the intention to create this super business class. Going forward, the A380 will be the only aircraft in the Qatar fleet with first class.
And he confirmed that again today.
Yep, and said even the A350 1000 will be business class and economy only. They're still not going anywhere with premium economy. So the big question has always been, what are you going to do with business class to make it better? He's talked about a super business class. He's talked about it being a proprietary design. Today, bit of a bombshell, said it would be double beds.
He did.
He said...
and I asked for clarification from one of the PR folks. I'm like, is he serious or is that a joke? And the PR guy wasn't really comfortable answering.
Yeah.
He was like, maybe?
Caught a few people by surprise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So one of the things he said was, well, with the super business class, this isn't really even, this is a super business class. We don't need to call it super business class
That's
anymore.
right.
This is a super business class. Business class is just going to be great. You got to learn to accept that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean,
yeah.
At that point, it becomes a question of how much are you charging for it, and what is the marketing shtick behind it. I know some people who corporate can buy business and like to upgrade to first, and so they're going to be disappointed by that. And I vaguely respect that, but it's not my travel style, so I can't get too broken up about it for it.
But it's funny, we've had some airlines pulling back on first class.
Yeah.
LAN had this wonderful first class designed by Brisbane Good in London, the 777s. Looked fantastic. Bang, ripped it out. And then you've had other airlines, notably Etihad going the other way, saying, well, we've got first, with the first class are now going to be on the A380, the first apartments, which have a separate bed and settee. And, of course, they've got the residence.
Right.
So this whole bedroom in the sky has become the next big thing.
Yeah.
Emirates is talking that they're going to be doing something similar. And now today Qatar is saying, well, we're going to have beds in business class.
Yeah.
A double bed. A bed which we will charge business class rates for.
Yeah, he definitely...
And he was saying that's going to be by 2016.
He said double bed
Yep.
in business class prices.
Yep, exactly.
I'll see if I can find the audio clip from him exactly. I recorded the session. Maybe I'll splice that in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he absolutely said that. And, part of me says this could just be, instead of doing angle like a herringbone seat, if we do sort of a staggered or something where the beds can be next to each other.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be
like
a 1-2-1, and the middle ones will be able to be paired.
Yeah, so how Thai and I think Emirates both have the same on the upper deck of the A380. It's sort of the middle column is sort of like outside pairs, inside pairs.
Yeah.
Those inside pairs, you could, in theory, drop the divider down.
Yeah. It's like Singapore Airlines, the suites.
If you can drop the divider.
You've got suites down either side in the middle, and the middle suites you can actually pair together.
Yeah. If they do something like that, it wouldn't be a huge amount of space, but,
Exactly. But, if this suites are knocking, don't come...
Yeah.
Or suites are rocking, don't come knocking.
Business class with other people all around.
Exactly.
Zero privacy.
But it is interesting because, we've heard that the heat has gone out of the first class market to an extent.
So we keep hearing that.
Yeah, we do.
But we keep hearing that, and we're still waiting to see, Lufthansa has pulled back a significant amount.
Yeah.
BA has recommitted to first class, saying they will finally retrofit the 744s. They had been on the fence about that.
Yeah.
But also, the 78s aren't going to have it, and some of the other...
The 787-9s, they've said, will have a small first-class cabin.
So maybe one row.
Very small one, a couple of rows.
Yeah.
But you look at this on the 787s, the Dash 8 China Southern, I think is the only 787-8, or is there one other provider?
Did Etihad do
with
it?
first.
Or?
So on the Etihad's got the 9, that has the first class in that one.
So yeah, and
it's not
dead, but it may not actually be dying as quickly as we thought it was going to, I guess.
But business class at the same time just keeps getting better.
So much better.
And better. I know Cathay is looking at their next-gen business class for the A350s. They've got Porsche Design Group working.
Ooh, very nice.
They've got Tangerine doing economy. Tangerine is the design studio in London, most famous as being the founding place of Jonathan Ives, now Apple. And so Tangerine's doing the whole tip-to-tail cabin work. Plus they're doing economy. Porsche Design is doing business class. It's interesting that Porsche doesn't have a big track record in aviation, but they're looking at this higher-end automotive field. Etihad looking at boutique hotels. So some of the airlines are starting to think outside of the square and saying, what are other premium areas that we can start tapping into to create a really amazing business class experience? And chatting with Toby Smith from Cathay, we were talking about that. He said the big challenge with business class is once you go lie flat, you can't go any flat.
Right.
Once you've given people a certain amount of personal space, how much more do you need? So, is service becoming the new differentiator for first class? Because business keeps getting...
Yeah, the only thing that the additional space really buys is the can you dine with your mate?
Yes.
Bit. And for some airlines, they can do that, and some airlines don't. And some, it's basically a function of how the seat designs are, and if you can put the little ottoman in that someone can sit on, and if you bother to put the seatbelt on it. And can you get a tray, I suppose, is a big part of that.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, but that is part of it. But you're right. Once you're flat, you're flat. Once... do you go wider than a Singapore Air seat? Like, we were talking earlier, it's already almost too wide for most people.
It is. I love the Singapore Airlines business class. The next gen one is even better. But it's so wide, I don't, because, I like to be sitting snug in a seat, a little bit of space in.
Yeah.
But
so
that's another podcast.
Yeah, we'll do that one next time.
Is there anything else we're going to cover off on the A350 from Qatar while we're here?
Only other thing that's outstanding on it is in-flight connectivity.
On Air are backing that, aren't they?
On Air are backing it, and they have line fit hardware, so that's good. The bad news is that On Air was basically banking on the GX solution from Inmarsat to be providing. So GX's global Ka-band solution is going to be fast like the live TV solution from Thales Live TV and Viasat, but global rather than just regional. And it's going live with L-band because that's what On Air has. And so
so what does that mean for the in-flight experience?
Painfully slow if you plan to use web browsing. Text messaging will be great. Text messaging will work from your phone. SMS for but don't expect web browsing to work until 2016 when the GX constellation is actually working. And part of the delay on those satellites has been the couple failures back in Baikonur, and I always say the launch pad in Kazakhstan, which is where the satellites are being launched from. Early 2015, in air quotes, is the next launch date for the secondary. But Inmarsat has the first of the three up, and interestingly, it covers this region. It covers the Middle East and Europe. Part of me wonders if they couldn't just put the GX antenna on anyways and start flying just as long as they keep the A350 in this region, why they don't do that. And maybe that is what they're going to do. I should probably double check that. But
do we know how much Qatar is going to be charging for in-flight internet? Or in-flight texting, as it now seems to be more likely?
Yeah, I have not seen any pricing numbers on that. It's actually going to be very interesting given that Emirates recently just completely revamped their pricing plans and made it very, very
that
affordable.
Was radical. Is it 600 meg free off the bat and then $1 onwards?
Yeah. Which
is peppercorn.
You almost wonder if that's just like the part where they put that in so it'll eventually stop some people who aren't paying any attention, who accidentally are downloading a DVD or something. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
If your Windows update happened to start accidentally downloading, this will cut you off in the middle because you haven't put in, fed the meter, so to speak. But $1 to finish. I mean, it is amazing to see the difference in consumption numbers and how it drives the technology on airlines that have metered connections and or limited bandwidth versus unlimited bandwidth, or not unlimited, but faster bandwidth, not metered connect free.
The
stats I've seen in the numbers from Live TV and Viasat are insane. And it's huge. And as more capacity comes online and more bandwidth becomes cheap enough to sort of give away, I think we're going to see some interesting shifts in the market. So,
do you think we'll get to the point where we'll see the premium passengers being given free internet or a certain chunk of session time free and people in the cheap seats having to pay for it?
I would like to say yes to that. And I think from a sort of customer management, CRM perspective and sort of all those marketing perspectives, that's a great thing to be able to do. The complexity of building the web portal for connecting to the internet is surprisingly high given...
Really?
Yeah, I know. You're making the face at me. I made the same face. Talking to some executives at various places to get that portal built, one provider basically said it took them years to get to a place where they were really happy with it. Other providers have struggled. United Airlines has two different underlying technology providers and is trying to sort of get to a common portal solution and has struggled mightily. So, and maybe they haven't struggled mightily. Maybe they've just been lazy and haven't bothered trying. But as a consumer, I still deal with vaguely similar looking but different experiences, and it's just different enough that it pisses me off. Because I can't remember which one I'm supposed to be doing. But that's the last little bit, and I think that eventually we may see premium free and paid in the back. I actually think we may get to the point where it's cheap enough and everybody demands it. That's sort of it's sort of like the trend that hotel Wi-Fi took, just in a much more accelerated manner. At this point, you got all the major U.S. chains have now said free Wi-Fi as long as you're a member of our loyalty program and book direct or not, depending. But
exactly.
JetBlue has indicated they might be going to you have to be a member of the loyalty program to get it for free instead of everybody getting it for free. But
will that be top tier members of the loyalty program?
No, you just have to sign up. And so it's marketing.
But it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a free loyalty program and you're flying with an airline and you don't sign up, I've got to...
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, the example I would give is Qantas, which used to charge. Do they still for the locals to sign up for?
Officially, it's $80 to sign up to the Qantas Frequent Fly program, but almost always there's some special promotional code they're running it free. But yeah, a lot of the time people spend their $80 paying.
Which is bizarre to me in some ways, but in the States we all buy like 6 or 8 credit cards with all the annual fees, so what are you going to do?
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, so if it's free and it's free, like why wouldn't I give my email or my third email that I use for junk mail to a random company so I get free internet on the airplane?
Yeah.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you very much. So.
Alrighty.
Anyway, yeah, we got to go drink now because we've got a party sunset dinner under the airplane.
This is the important part of the business.
Absolutely.
People think it's all hard.
People aren't that stupid. Our listeners aren't that stupid. They know we mostly just sit around and drink all the day. Anyway, David, thank you so very much. Australian Business Traveler, what's your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle is OzBT. Website address is www.ausbt.com.au.
All right, and we'll put in the show notes as well so folks can find you.
Fantastic.
Much appreciate you joining me.
Pleasure, mate.
Great to see you again as always.
Let's go get some drink.
Cheers.